From the front line of enterprise design, here is Maria and Mila from Z9 Works and Bell Canada. They have been working closely together on the application of EDGI in their organizations and probably on many different projects on questions such as what happens when you realize that your design isn't working? What needs to be in place for enterprise design to actually sustain itself over time? Let this post-mortem be our pre-mortem for future design, enterprise design endeavors, and please give them both a very warm welcome.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's going to be really hard to follow the past presentation, but we'll try our best. It was an amazing topic. So, hi everyone. I'm Maria. I represent Zenina Works. We're a boutique consulting agency, and our specialty is strategic planning and road mapping. Sorry, Sonia. But that's what we do, and digital transformation. So how can we enable business through technology? That's mostly what I do. This is my third time at the Intersection Conference. I feel like it's an amazing community, extremely collaborative. So this time, I decided to switch it up and actually do a collaboration with my dear colleague and friend, Mila.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mila, and I currently reside and work out of Toronto, Canada, and I've been a practitioner all my life. So not a strategy, but hands-on, practicing with different frameworks, methodology. So all the many conversations that I've heard today are very near and dear to what I've experienced throughout my career. I've been project manager, program manager, change manager, test manager, you name it, I've done it all. And currently I've been working with Agile. But through all my experiences, the current topic today always kind of brought me sustainability. And what Regine just presented and this new model, this new concept that you built, and I wish you all the best, guys, to stay and continue for many, many years, but what do we do in order to maintain that sustainability after we deliver day two? And that's exactly what we wanted to talk. We'll talk in examples because the references are also very easy to relate to. And I'll talk about my practices, and with Maria together, I hope you guys are going to like this journey.
All right. So when you hear sustainable enterprise design, what comes to mind? Because we thought we would start with the term. Any ideas?
Long-term?
Long-term, yeah. Well, you know what we're going to be talking about, so it's not fair. All right. Milan is not here, but we actually also found a tool that can do word clouds, as you can see. And we did a bit of a Google search to say, do we actually mean what we're going to be talking? And what you get usually when you Google sustainable enterprise design is everything to do with the environment, being green, being socially responsible. This is not what we're going to be talking about, right? While being sustainable is extremely important, and being a sustainable enterprise, making sure that your goal is to implement such changes, what we're going to be talking about is no matter how green your changes are, if they're not sustainable in the sense of long-term being able to maintain themselves and evolve with your organization, they're not going to last, and it doesn't really matter, right? So we are actually going back in time to a more historical definition of sustainable today. And that's what we're going to be talking about.
All right. Okay. The next slide, and many of you that worked in large corporations can relate to. We know and very familiar with the term visible project scope. This is all the phases that go into the life cycle of the project delivery or program delivery. And we focus our attention, our work, our deliverables, what goes above the line, what you see at the top of the tree. We start with the concept, we go into planning, we talked about the business charter and the business case and the requirements. Lots of attention spent on the design itself. So we pay time, we use the resources, we go into the details of it, but do we spend enough time during the design phase that will bring us down below the line? When we close the project, when we do all our final deliverables and launches, and past 6 to a year to 3 to 4, can we say confidently that we've delivered something workable, sustainable? Because in my career, through years, when you return back and you talk to the operations, you see in many cases that something failed to work, and you have to start from scratch. You have to find or submit the new change request, or find the new funding, implement the new technology. Can we build something scalable, and can we do it, or build for that future? We can't build forever. Maybe Coliseum, yes, it is, works. But in our type of world, what can we do differently? What can we do enough in order to proudly say we did build that and we spend enough time? So business process management, if we ask the question, what did we do for business processes, right? Did we assign the roles and responsibilities? Did we have enough training materials for people to sustain and continue if there's a high turnaround? Performance monitoring. Yeah, we can say that, yeah, we can upgrade the software version on the annual basis. But the question is, can we stop the production operation during that time? Do we have enough scalability in order to do that? Did we build enough for the integration after that? And the same goes with the data quality. Many large corporations, and then this is what I'm experiencing right now, the data legacy is so large and so heavy. Can we clean it up for the future in order to maintain an easy and approachable transformation down the road for the day two? With maintenance support, day two help support and the line. So all these activities, we start to ask the questions more and more within our design phase as sitting down with the team and working.
Thank you, Mila. So we all learn better with examples. So the way we decided to tackle this is to share some examples with you. Some are going to be, one is going to be Mila's project, but we thought that we'll also broaden our perspective a little bit and look at the examples around us. We're going to walk you through 3 such examples, fairly large, that we observed, did not participate, but observed and analyzed from the enterprise design perspective. And we're going to start in the vicinity of Canada, of course, because that's where we're coming from.
This is closer to heart and closer to home. But many of you, maybe that worked in the United States, heard of the big retail chain called Target. Many of you shop there. Great prices, great chain. The company started in the late 60s and very quickly expanded throughout United States. Close to early 2000s, they have a footprint of 1,800 stores, and they always were looking over at the Canadian side and how can they expand and what can they do. But they never wanted to go slow expansion as they did in the United States. So in 2011, the opportunity came, and one of our retail chains was wrapping out their operations, and there was over 120 stores available for lease. So they quickly jumped to that opportunity. They've bought those leases. They've invested a large amount of money. And they've decided they're gonna reopen brand new Targets in less than 2 years. So that was a very ambitious and aggressive plan to deliver, going to a new market, different country, within less than 18 or 20 months in planning. So fast forward, that happened. The first store started to operate in 2013, but they wrapped up all their operations in 2015 with the losses of over $4 billion. Very quickly. I would say that's like a book kind of experience, of like a school book.
Absolutely. And we wanted to look at it from the enterprise design perspective. So what actually happened there? As the consumers, what we observed is there was a big hype. It was exciting that they're coming. Canadians were very familiar with the brand, so no challenge there. Lots of expectations, definitely ready public. With such a large expansion, Target made a huge assumption. They said that Canada is right across the border, we're on the same continent, we're pretty much the same. What we're going to do is we're going to reuse our entire enterprise design. We don't need to do anything. We just need to open those stores, source the same product, use the same processes. But when Canadians actually went to those stores, what we found, I don't know if anybody was here, I think Quebec had less of those stores. You went, okay. The shelves were empty. There was so much excitement, you go in and the shelves are empty. Moreover, when you look at the price tags that were present on the shelves, they were much higher than in their competitor stores, Walmart's, and then what we anticipated and what we were looking for. So what happened there is we're just across the border. We'll use the same logistical processes. We don't need to redesign, we're the same. The reality begs to differ. The population of US is around 330 million people. The population of Canada is less than 40. We're talking about drastic difference. The size of the country, though, still pretty large. So you needed different processes and different capabilities to be able to manage logistics. So all their product was sitting in the warehouses and was having a really hard time getting to the stores and the shelves. And the Canadian dollar is not the same as the US dollar. The exchange rate is different, so lots of challenges there. The big lesson from here is no matter how successful you are, you cannot reuse. You have to do the sanity check and see, is it actually going to work? Or do I need to challenge my product assumptions, challenge my processes assumptions, challenge my capabilities, and make sure that it will actually work? So, lesson number one.
Yep. Just a point of reference, maybe for those who are not familiar with it, Target is very close in size to IKEA. So imagine you walking into IKEA and you seeing half of the IKEA empty shelves because their distribution, their logistics, everything that's possible to fail that one. So very interesting experience what not to do or what to consider in this situation. So next one.
Second example, I'm not going to flip the slide because we wanted to try and see if people will guess who we're talking about, because this time we're going outside of Canada, everybody should be familiar.
Yes, their logo was always say, you just need to press the button, we'll do the rest.
Any guesses?
Kodak.
There we go.
How many of you had that in your household? This is the company, right, that got formed at the end of 19th century and operated with extreme performances for over 100 years. But how quickly they failed and fold. So Kodak still exists. They do small things, but in comparison, in 1997, when the stock market, they were selling their shares at $94 per share. Right now, maybe in 2011, their shares fell into 54 cents. So they failed to recognize what change is coming. And this obsolete company, even though they were the first one on the market to invent the digital camera. And they let it go. They didn't believe in it. And when the digitization came in, they said, it will not impact us. We're going to be here. We hold 90% of the US market for all the printing, the services, the camera. We are unbeatable.
The funny fact that the invention of the digital photography was actually 1975 by Kodak, so it's way back. They had plenty of time to realize the opportunity or figure out what it means for them. They did not, right? So when we looked back and tried to figure out what happened from the enterprise design perspective, is they invented the wonderful new product, but they haven't transformed with it. What they haven't really anticipated and realized is how much impact the way we take pictures will have on the rest of our experience as customers. How are we going to be doing our tasks of taking the pictures, storing the pictures, looking through the pictures in the future? What our journey is going to be like. Yes, we take pictures. Yes, we still press that button. Do we print? Who printed in the last month or so? No, God. Oh, okay. Some, but there's usually a very particular reason why we print now. It's actually maybe a poster or something, right? So we don't print everyday pictures. We take way more pictures than we ever used to with that film. It was so limited, every frame was so precious. Not anymore. We take 100 and then we pick one. Right? So everything changed in our experience, in the tasks, in the journeys, in the way we look through those pictures. Kodak only adopted the technology, how they take the photo. They had the digital cameras. They never jumped on a wagon of what would that mean to their printing business. Can they be a storage provider for those digital photos? Nothing. Yes, they're still around, but they had to reinvent themselves, and they actually still stick to film. And what they're good at, film and printing. They did dabble in pharmaceuticals, interestingly enough. Over pandemic, but yes, they completely lost consumers market. Amazing opportunity, not realized with the challenges on the design, right? What it actually means, where the impacts are of that new product. So incredible story for sure.
Yeah, failed the transformation. And the last example that we have for us, going back to Canadian
Back to
market again, technology, again, very near and dear to everybody, probably whoever worked in the corporations had research in motion, BlackBerry in their pocket, and what a new cutting edge technology that was, having an email in your pocket, carrying it with you, able to open it. And the two guys that formed it, founded it, and the company grew so fast. So fast. Within the 10-year scalability that they had over 85 million customers, that they billions in assets and profits. But in 2007, Apple came to market and says, we're just announcing the Apple phone. All right, we're going to be very close. And with that, they still had 4 years to turn around, to start working on their operating system, recognizing what market niche they haven't covered, because their presence was still in just the corporate market. But they were so ambitious, and they thought that they were going to be, again, unbeatable, and it will not impact them, and Apple will just go away just because it's more than agi or it's a flavor of the day, and they still will have opportunity to share the market. But in 2011, they started to see that their profits started to go down, and in 2015, they started to lay off the people, and yes, they're still on the market. They turned into a new operating system, Android, instead of their own. They sell securities and subscriptions, but it's not the same company anymore. And the reason for it?
Well, we think our interpretation, right, and based on the research that we've done to prepare, is really they had a brand, they had a product, they grew so fast, it was so new that they really were complacent with that product, and they thought that they have it, they figured it out. What we kept on hearing from the friends that we had working for the company is, as they were trying to implement the changes and grow their product and develop their product further, they were continuously late with the delivery. They were late, their quality suffered, so they were ultimately extremely late to jump on the touchscreen that came way too late compared to the iPhone. They've been working on it for years. So what we really think happened there is that when they did the design of their organization, they missed the capabilities and the processes to adopt and evolve. So that muscle was underdeveloped. They had initial great product, but they couldn't keep it going. They couldn't keep on innovating at the same pace and with the same quality.
And the leadership failed to change. They didn't recognize, they didn't want to invest into the change, they didn't want to spend time into this. And that kind of leads me to the current experience that I am running with one of the major telecom organizations in Canada. We are trying to implement a new system that will impact almost the whole company. And initial stages that we start to discuss as we're moving towards the design, we already start talking about what's the day two going to look like, what the impacts are we going to have. We started to engage the operations team from the get-go, having the conversation, what weight we can lose along the way in order to build a better, cleaner operation processes, and in order to be more cutting edge on the day two and still continue with the same system, with the same operation, not dropping the performances for our clients and even internally. What can we do right now and what questions we can ask ourselves? We started to think about the day two help support and help desk, because the legacy and the big corporations like this, besides one system, there's so many complexity that comes, and the baggage comes with other systems that are integrating and providing the input and the collaboration, how we can avoid this, how we can simplify and find efficiencies today in order to build for tomorrow. And there are going to be many more conversations, but the good thing is there is an appetite for this, and there is an engagement and awareness amongst the teams that they really wanted to participate and they wanted to contribute into it. Because we've seen many failures over the decades within the company, and people are getting more frustrated, more demotivated in their deliverables and day-to-day operations, that we no longer wanted to see it. We wanted to simplify a little bit what we are doing.
So the picture is what we want to avoid when we get on a project scale, obviously, because we've seen it very often. That's not the blue sky vision. That's what not to do. And for the last topic, we decided to test you a little bit. So we're not referring to the edge elements here. That's a bit of a test. We are referring here to the enterprise design patterns. So if you're not familiar with these images, there is a book on that. That's actually very useful. That we found. So throughout the course of the project, yes, obviously enterprise design elements, but also the patterns. What do you need to make sure is present for you to be able to maintain and sustain that change? So we only picked a few. Obviously, quite more of them are applicable. Executive buy-in is extremely important. If you don't have strong leadership, chances of maintaining the change are pretty low. Co-creating enterprise design charter, so making sure everybody's on the same page, and understanding, sharing the vision for the enterprise design, making sure that it's the same, everybody agrees on what that is, and everybody understands what that is. And last but not least, and obviously my favorite with the shoes, is wearing their shoes. There can never be enough shoes. What Mila's team is doing right now is they're not only trying to wear the shoes of the future teams that will be using the product, they're actually inviting the teams that will be wearing the shoes, right, to build the shoes, to make sure that they get the right shoes in place from the get-go, all right? Very quickly, what we wanted you to take away from all of this, right? We were kind of all over the place, but two main points. Our wonderful Venn diagram. We have to look at all of the design elements. You probably heard it many, many times, but really all of them are important. And I find that it's a great cheat sheet. When you're making a change to the organization, you think you're impacting one, go back, check. You might be impacting more than one, and probably are in majority of the cases, and to make sure that you don't miss the important points like some of the other corps did. And our wonderful tree. Don't forget those invisible roots. How are you going to keep the change going? Think about it from the get-go.
Yep. And actually, the tool that Helgi presented this morning, I'm definitely taking that away with my team, because I feel there is strong value that we can use it in so many ways, not just for the design, but thinking for the future. Can we answer the questions and be more sustainable? So thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. You know the drill by now. Any feedbacks, comments, or inputs?
Do we need more sugar?
Perhaps it was crystal clear.
Or not at all.
Well, we
Either or. We're available for questions. We'd love to connect with you, and thank you so much.